I was about 7 or 8 years old. Our entire school was sitting on the gym floor, waiting for a performance. A group of actors had come to teach us about acceptance, about how we're all different, but all equally important. They acted out scenes about kindness, respect, and equality. And I remember feeling something rare. I felt together with everyone else. That mattered to me more than I understood at the time, because I was the only Assyrian in my school. Not just in my class, the entire school. As far as I know, the only Assyrian who had ever gone there. But for once, I didn't feel separated because of this play. Near the end of the performance, the actors turned to the audience. They smiled and asked who wants to share their background. Where are you from? Hands immediately went up, everywhere. Indian, shouted my friend Derek, and everyone applauded. Filipino, said my friend James, and the whole school applauded. Spanish, said Nicole, and everyone applauded. And this went on. Arab, African, Chinese, all met with applause. Each answer met with warmth, affirmation, and belonging. I remember my heart beating faster. I hesitated. Then I raised my hand. When they called on me, I stood up and said clearly and confidently, I'm Assyrian. The entire gym went silent. No applause, no smiles, just confusion. I felt like I was in an Alfred Hitchcock movie or something. It was weird. The actors just stared at me. Teachers stared at me. Hundreds of kids just stared at me. In that silence, fear crept in. I thought maybe they didn't hear me, or maybe they didn't understand. So I tried something different. I tried again. I said, quieter this time. Less confident, for sure. Babylonian? The reaction was immediate. The entire gym, students, performers, teachers, burst out laughing. I didn't get it. I didn't understand why. I just knew something had gone terribly wrong. I felt exposed, small, and ashamed. Even now, telling this story, I can still feel it in my chest. That moment, in a room designed to celebrate difference, taught me something no child should have to learn. That some identities are accepted and others are treated like mistakes. That being Assyrian was not just different, it was unintelligible, unrecognizable, something ancient enough to be laughed at. That was the first time I learned that being Assyrian is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because it carries history, endurance, and meaning deeper than most people ever inherit. And a curse because you often carry it alone. I was alone in my school. A few years later, in the 5th grade, I learned that lesson again, but in a different way. It was early December, and our class was making Christmas art. My teacher asked everyone to share how they said Merry Christmas in their mother tongue, because we were writing it as art to display in the hallways. One student put their hand up and said Feliz Navidad, another Joyeux Noël, and so on. Each translation was met with a smile, a nod, and warmth. When it was my turn, I said it clearly, in my own language, Iduch bricha, silence. And then, laughter. Not just from a few kids, but the whole class. Even the teacher laughed. He said, trying to excuse himself, I'm sorry, it sounded like you were just clearing your throat. I was stunned, confused, and hurt. Later in life, I learned something remarkable and cruelly ironic. That language I had spoken, ridiculed in front of my classmates and teacher, was the same language Jesus spoke. If Jesus himself had said Merry Christmas on his birthday, he would have said it exactly as I did. The very words I had been mocked for were the same words Jesus would have said on a day that celebrates his birth. If that doesn't exemplify ironic and clown world, I don't know what else does. Again, another Alfred Hitchcock moment. Even now, I can feel the strangeness of it, the isolation, the injustice. The only translation tied to the reason we celebrated Christmas was the one that no one could accept, the one that no one could understand. And in that moment, I learned again, being Assyrian can feel like standing alone in a world that laughs at your very existence. These two moments, years apart, taught me something important. Being Assyrian is being connected to a history that stretched back thousands of years, a history full of resilience, faith, and survival. But it also means carrying a truth that many people can't see or even understand. It's a blessing and it's a burden. It is living proof that some things are ancient, sacred, and unbroken, even when the world doesn't notice. I carry that with me every day. And that is why this channel exists. Because silence is another form of erasure. And the story of Assyria is not just in history books. It is alive in every Assyrian who stands, who speaks, and who remembers. Chaya, Ashur Chaya.